Okay, so as your Greek beef burgers are cooking, we're moving on to the Greek salad. In your kit, capsicum, tomatoes, olives, dressing, cucumber, red onion, feta and oregano. Let's start with capsicum. To prepare the capsicum, we need to remove the seeds and the membrane. So using a sharp knife, cut through the centre of the capsicum, pull away the seeds and leave the capsicum cut side up. I like to cut away the membrane that I can get to easily. I cut them on an angle as close as possible to the membrane so I don't waste too much of the capsicum. There are fancier ways to do this, but I'm doing this the fastest and easiest way that I've found. Once that's all done, you now need to cut the capsicum into thick strips. Now the capsicum is in thick strips, line them up and chop them into cubes. Keep the capsicum flesh side up because it is easier to cut through the flesh than the skin. Repeat with the other half, remembering to throw away any of the membrane that is left inside. Great, let's move on to the cucumber. I am using a Lebanese cucumber, but you could also use a continental cucumber if you prefer. Firstly, cut both of the ends off and then slice down the centre of the cucumber. Now I am going to use a spoon to remove the seeds from the centre of the cucumber. This is mainly for appearance sake, but it also does remove some of the moisture from the salad. You can leave the seeds in if you prefer or if you're running out of time. Now cut along the centre of each half and then chop the cucumber into bite-sized cubes. Perfect for your salad. Okay, now grab the red onion. We are only going to use half of a red onion for this salad. So we start by cutting the onion in half and removing the outer skin. Then slice the onion into thin wedges. If you use a really sharp knife when you're cutting your onions, you'll actually find that it reduces the irritation to your eyes. But if you do find raw onion a bit strong to eat, then you can also soak the slices in cold water for about 10 minutes. Then make sure you drain them very well before adding them to the salad. I am using truss tomatoes for this salad, but you could use cherry tomatoes. Start by cutting the tomato in half, then cutting the half into quarters or into thirds if your tomatoes are smaller. Next, line the tomato slices and cut into cubes. You need to do the same for each of the tomatoes. Remember to store your tomatoes at room temperature and not in the fridge. This will encourage them to continue ripening and improve the flavour and appearance of the tomatoes for your salad. Okay, let's now prepare our olives. So the olives in your pack have not been pitted. That means they haven't had the seed removed. To remove the seed is really quite easy. So use the knife blade on the seeds to sort of split open the olives. Then once you've done that, you remove each of the seeds from the olive. This step, whilst a bit fiddly, really is worth the effort. Now, if you've ever had olives from the deli that have been sitting in brine, I personally find that they're quite mushy, and what you're tasting is more of the brine than you are actually the olives. So carefully tear the olive apart and take the seeds out from the middle. It goes without saying, it's pretty important to make sure you throw the seeds away, as they're very hard and could easily chip a tooth if one was accidentally thrown into the salad. You know, sometimes it can be difficult to see if a seed has been left behind, as they're actually the same colour as the olive and they look quite similar, especially when the olives have been pulled apart like we're doing here. I always run a knife over the pitted olives to make sure that none of the seeds or the pips have been left behind. But for this salad too, we need to chop the olives into some smaller pieces. Okay, put all the ingredients into a salad bowl. Here are the tomatoes and the lovely, gorgeous olives. Our beautiful green seeded cucumber. Doesn't it look amazing? And then our capsicum. Such a beautiful, colourful salad. Put in the red onion, which sort of looks a little bit purple compared to the capsicum and the tomatoes. A couple of tablespoons of vinegar going into the bowl. When you're using olive oil for a dressing, it's worth the extra money to be using a higher quality olive oil. Let's put the oregano into the dressing and give it a bit of a stir around. How easy is that? And then just pour the dressing over the salad. Fantastic. Give it a bit of a stir around, toss it, combine it, make sure that all of the vegetables within the salad are covered by the dressing. And then the last stage is to crumble some feta over the salad. Doesn't that look amazing? Give that another toss.